Hi everyone, this is Roomful of Pigeons, and today we're going to be looking at how I draw my little guys for my emoticons and such. So I'm going to be drawing the happy one today. So as you can see, I've started with the head. I've just done a circle and then added a tiny little face chin sort of to it. And I started up blocking the hair, and now we're on to the eye. So this character only has one visible eye, so I don't need to worry about symmetry. For a tip there. So a lot of the emotion is in the eye, especially in this art style. This is a bit of a more simplified art style compared to how I normally draw, so I'm trying to do the mouth there. I changed that a few times. I just put a little nose. I think I'm done with the mouth now. I think that's the mouth that I go with. I could be wrong. I end up getting rid of the eyebrow, I think. Yep, bye eyebrow. I only use eyebrows in this style to show certain emotions, because again, this is a simplified style. So I'm having a little go at doing the nose there. Yep, mouth difficulties again. Cute little sharp teeth. So starting with the head, because that's where the emotion is. I'm only doing bust for these. If I were doing a full body, I would probably start off by doing a gesture drawing of how I would look, but really there's not that much posing with just the torso. So we're going with the hands now, and I'm going to tell you I don't end up keeping this hand or that hand. I mean, for one, the thumb is on the wrong side, which I realised when I look at my own hand. I was looking at my hand from my perspective, but everything should be flipped. But I end up completely changing that hand position. I try to fix it at first with that sort of position, but the angle just looks wrong. I mean, that's a different hand position anyway. But it just doesn't really convey the emotion that I'm wanting it to convey, so I do end up changing this, but you can watch me render out the sketch. Render? No, it's a sketch. You can watch me make the sketch a bit cleaner as I try to justify how I want it. I've changed the hand position again. And goodbye hand and some of the hair, I'll have to redraw that, which I do. And I don't think I redraw it as well as I did the first time, but oh well. I've added some of these little bumps onto it, these little clumps. I think that looks really cute in this art style, to have her go into little clumps like that. So now we're going back to the hands, and I've completely decided to change the way that the positioning of these hands. So we've sort of gestured out the body here a bit. I end up moving the picture about on the screen a bit soon. I think I shrunk it. Yep, there we go, I've shrunk it. Because I'm trying to get a body, I'm trying to get it look like the character's leaning forward a bit, but I think I changed my mind on that. Because it looks strange in such a simplified blocky style, especially when it's just a torso and head rather than anything. I've given up on the body a bit there, I'm going back to the hands. So I've gone for fists instead. I feel like the fists give that sort of happy, shaking your fists in a side-to-side motion. Show, wee, I'm happy, which is a sort of emotion I'm trying to get from this. I do think it looks a bit like a limp wrist there. As you see, I'm flipping my canvas every now and then. I'm using Critter, so that's just the M key for me, but in other programs it could be something else. And I just copy-pasted the hand because it's a sketch, and I want it to look kind of symmetrical. So copy-pasting is the best way to do that, especially in the sketch stage where it doesn't matter as much if I make a little bit of a mistake. It's not perfect. If it's perfectly symmetrical in the sketch stage, I can just fix that later if I don't want it to be. So I'm putting in a bit of the detail now, I'm putting in the structure of the hoodie. That's not important as a pose, that's just kind of there. Clean up the sketch a bit, and now we've done the sketch, but they're going in for the line art now. So I'm starting with these eye sparklies because they're going to go on top of everything. I really probably could have done them in their own layer, but there we go. So I'm filling out the eye now because I like nice thick line art on the eyes. And you can use the fill bucket tool in Critter to just fill it in. If you put a little bit of an adjustment on it so it increases the size of it, we get it to actually fill in everything that we want it to. unless you're filling in one colour with itself, it's best to do it on another layer if you're colouring in a line piece, but here we go. Did I get that mouth first try? Ooh, I don't like that. I do change that eventually, but it is going to stay like that for a while, that little gum going over a bit, because I thought it was cool when I drew it, and then I changed my mind. There we go, we're going over the hair now. Lovely. I like how shapely the hair is in this simplified art style. Done a little bit of cross-hatching in the eye, which ends up not being really seen anyway, but whatever. I'm doing the hand now. I've not changed layer. I probably could do with changing layer, but I feel like with me that would just increase the amount of time I spend rather than save time or save quality, because it looks good in the end, because I feel like that was a neat way of erasing it. But if you had thinner line art, that might be different for you. Even this arm's very similar to the previous one. But I didn't copy paste those because I do want them to be a bit different rather than exactly the same. So drawing in the hair details now, so that these hair details are the different bands of colour. If it wasn't colour, I wouldn't line it for this particular style, but because the hair colour is changing between these bands, I do put some slightly thinner lines here. I've not changed the thickness of my pen, I've just not pressed down as hard. There we go, I'm finally changing that horrible gum. That looked bad. Also, you'll see I forgot to put in the iris. I've gone back to the sketch because I forgot some detail on the hoodie. So there we go, there's the sketch. For this, to get a thick, consistent thickness, semi-consistent thickness in the sketch rather than sketching normally, I just I use a thick brush and do the shape that I want, but then I hand draw it outside. There are some tools which you can get a nice outline from a similar method to what I used with the sketch. But there we go, on to the colouring now, and I realise that I have irises. Do I go to the irises now? Or do I just frit about in Critter doing nothing? Oh, I realised that I forgot to erase where the hair line was going over that. So I'm doing the select tool on the line art layer, and then I'm going to the non-line art layer to double check things. I'm colour picking from the other image because I didn't set up a palette, I'm just using that other copy of the same image. I've still not gone back for the iris now. Here we go. Here we go with the iris. I have just freehanded it rather than looking at the sketch, but it's fine. I've colour picked the green. I've gone entirely green for the iris here because this character's iris changes colour depending on emotions. This would be a pain to use full tool with, so I have just coloured it in my hand. But I use the magic wand tool on my line art layer, and I put a lock on my line art layer so that I don't accidentally colour on my line art layer, which can ultimately look bad. You'll see I've gone with the wrong colour here for some parts. I don't see that for a bit. I assume it was lighting, and not that I was colouring in the wrong parts with the wrong colours. When there's the sign with the little cross in the middle of it, that's when I'm trying to do something on a locked layer, because I often accidentally use tools on the line art layer, hence why I lock it. I've realised my mistake now, so I've coloured everything in the correct colour it should be. I'm going with blue now, and I think that's the end of the colour. I think that's everything coloured. Yep, so we're going into the lighting now, which means we must be nearing the end of our video. So for lighting, I use, for this art style, which isn't my normal art style, I do a somewhat simple cell shaded style. So I've got a pen of consistent, it's actually a pen of consistent thickness, that doesn't matter, I'm manually changing the thickness. This pen has no response to touch sensitivity. The important part of it is that it is a pen of consistent colour. It doesn't get lighter or darker as I press down. I do like using more variable pens with my shading sometimes, but for this type of shading I want to be able to fill in large, consistently coloured areas, and that's best with a pen that does that. So I'm using this pen and I'm using the fill bucket tool on the layer that I'm doing my shading on. So with Critter, it has all the layers differently. Different programs might work differently, but your fill bucket tool will only fill things on the layer that you are currently drawing on. You might be able to configure that in settings. I know the magic wand tool you can configure to be for every layer, which sometimes when I have got a lot of different things on different layers, but I want to just have all of my line art, I will do the magic wand tool on all of my line art rather than just little bits. But I'm cleaning up around parts which are not external to the character, because these would be not necessarily difficult to automatically clean up, but I'm trying to be cleaner when I'm going near a different part of the character. Whereas you can very clearly see I don't care about going outside the lines of the character, and that's because of something that I will show you later. But as long as we're staying within the character, we should try to stay within lines, but as soon as we go outside the character, it does not matter to stay within lines at all, because we can very easily clean things that are not within the character. You can probably use clipping masks so that you can't go outside the character, but this would make it more difficult to do my large circle and fill bucket method, which I think saves time. And also, as you can see from the previous thing that has just gone off screen, because I was talking about something else when that happened, I can very easily just copy everything outside of the character using the magic wand tool on the line art layer. And then I've got the magic wand tool, so I've only got things outside of the line art layer selected, and I go onto my shading layer with an eraser tool and I erase everything. I'm deciding that it was a little too dark on that side of the hand compared to how I think it should look. So I'm adding a little bit of shading to the fingers now. These are just a few last little touches. I'm cleaning up, not cleaning up, I'm adding shadow from the hair onto the neck hood of the hoodie. I'm cleaning up that little part of the eye where it was not very tidy. And I decide that I still haven't erased enough of the shading on that side of the hand, because that is the side that the light is coming from. When the line art disappears and reappears, that's just me double checking that I'm on my line art layer and not on some other layer. I've mirrored it to make sure it doesn't look terrible. And that's all. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.